My name is Phil, and I like to dress as a baby.
You identify as broccoli, or?
I am Mr. Broccoli, yes, that's right, please.
So now we are seeing kids that are identifying as animals going to school.
Explain what made you feel inside you that you were an elf trapped in a human body.
I believe that other kins are human, but they also have other parts to them that make them a unique human on Earth.
I am a 27-year-old transgender woman. I am a wolf therian and a member of the furry fandom.
And when did you know that you were a 35-year-old white man?
Well, I've always felt different. I go to the store, the movies, and just be thinking to myself, like, why am I not getting the respect I deserve? And then it just hit me. I'm white and 35.
Going into this experience as a pregnant man makes me feel really vulnerable.
A 20-year-old woman insists that she is not a human being. She's actually a cat.
Concrete reality.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Concrete Reality TV, where we strive to know more and do more with what we know. I'm L from Acapella.
It's your boy Cutter.
I'm OG2 and the infamous K Fred.
So we talking about self, man. Self. How does something abstract have so many meanings and descriptions and definitions? I have no idea. Cutter, you know yourself?
Pretty well.
Okay. Gillen, what about you? You know yourself?
Yes, a lot.
Okay, Fred, do you know yourself?
I mean, yeah, and I'm still learning me.
So we're talking about self-identity and social roles. And it's been going on since time out of mind of mankind, where people have been discussing this particular topic. Different cultures, different philosophers and people discussing this topic of self. Where does it start? Is it layered? I figure we start with the definition. Okay, so self, abstract noun, of course. Number one, an individual's typical character or behavior. We go to B, a person in prime condition. And then two, the second definition, the unions of elements such as body, emotions, thoughts, and sensations that constitute the individuality and identity of a person. We can go to number four, the entire person of an individual. For B, the realization or embodiment of an abstraction. So you can see they kind of have it all over the place on what this is. Is it something abstract? Is it something that includes the physical body? Is it something separate from the physical body? Are they all one?
Well, it includes one individual itself, like just you as one person. For me, like all these pronouns, they, us, we, whatever else they talking about, it's confusing. And I think that's the way they want it. They want the water muddy so they can, they can start changing definitions of what a person is, what a woman is, what a man is. So they make sure it's muddy so you can really not tell what it is, because whatever you identify as, that's what they want it to be.
This connection called self, this individual awareness that we all carry, that embodies us or is us, whatever, because it's complicated. Again, my favorite word is complicated, but I always like to kind of dig a little bit and force you to come out your box by saying, what is the object, the physical thing that the word self names and defines? Can you observe it? Can you actually perceive it? Is it a physical phenomenon?
It depends on what your level of grasping at the reality of self is, right? Like how are you grabbing the internal part to you that you say you can't see? You're not meant to see that. You're meant to see outward, but you know what's inward, because it's the inward that comes first before outward. I don't think that you can observe yourself as an internal person. You have to have something outside of yourself to really hold you accountable for the person that you say yourself is, I guess.
Okay, so we can't see self. Let me just get this straight. So the internal energy or awareness? Can you perceive it? Can you sight, sound, taste, touch, smell? Can you see it? They cut you open. We look in there in your head. There's the self. There's the object or the entity, the thing that is named self.
Alrighty, so we're talking about like Richard Pryor and the Wiz. Okay, got it. Who's behind the curtain? Man, let me put it like this. This is just the way that I rationalize and reason with it. I don't know if I'm right or not, but just from my own understanding, when you talk about self, there's two parts to it. There's the esoteric, and then there's the exoteric. So the esoteric meaning that part of me that you're defining that you say can't be seen or grabbed, but its only existence is known by the five senses, right? To smell, to taste, to touch, and to hear, and so forth. That's what gives you the connection to the exoteric world, right? From the esoteric, from the spiritual, or what they would call spiritual, to what's physical in the matter. Now, in the matter, I can define my body, right? I only know it exists because I got senses that tell me that this exists, right? Now, the one thing I'll never be able to do, Ephraim, is to look at myself, right? I can see reflections of myself, but my eyes will never allow me to gaze upon me, right? Now, that doesn't mean that I don't exist, right? Because I can't see, quote unquote, the inner parts of me, but they are defined by the other side of me that we call physical, right? And so I take my thoughts and then I put them into what? Action, right? The thought is something that's abstract. Though we can't see it, you still know it's there because you acted out what's in your thought, right? So it's, for me, it kind of rolls on the same level.
So going into the self, we touched on this self thing. We know that it's abstract. We still don't have anything tangible that you can name and define. So how are we getting the definition of what self is when there's no thing to actually define? Is it just we making it up based off of what we feel, which is what K. Fred, you were saying? It's these individual things that we have to experience, or what are the basis that we draw conclusions about what our self is? And the reason why I'm touching on this is because in order for us to move forward to what these other topics are, we got to have a foundation by which we draw conclusions, which is abstract. So we're stuck with what we're about to do, where we're going to travel forward to. We don't have a foundation because we just admitted there's nothing there to draw conclusions from other than our own individual experiences.
I was trying to figure out where the fuck you was going with this shit, honestly. I was lost. I'm like, I thought we was talking about something else, bro. Like you had me for a minute. I was like, okay.
That's the point, because you can't start talking about what self is based off of what other people describe their self-identity on if you don't know what the self is. So if you don't have a self, we can't start pointing fingers and saying these fools and these idiots, oh, they talking about they self. Wait, how they gonna describe they self? What's a self? What are you talking about? I don't know, but they stupid for doing it. So we basically pointing fingers, laughing, talking about people, and diminishing people's beliefs on what they think their self is when we don't even know what the self is, because we don't know who we are. We're based out, like Kurt Ferrer said, we basing ourselves according to what we define ourselves as according to society. So we're still stuck within these boxes. It's really, really touchy on where we go, because if you start pointing fingers at other people's beliefs, which is what this is going to start becoming a reflection. Be ready for the reflection of yourself to be shown to you.
But as you said, how can something be shown that doesn't exist when you can't define it? You can't show me. You can't show me self. And even reflect self back to me if it's not tangible.
Yep, that is true. So if we're reflecting, if I show the mirror back to you, what am I reflecting back to you?
It's your idea.
My idea of what I think you are. So now we go back and forth about what we think each other are, and we're trying to figure out who has the best description of what we imagine ourselves to be. You see where this goes? It's like this.
Oh, well, yeah, but I mean, if you leave it up to hold on, here it goes. If you leave it up to self, my depiction of me is always going to be grandiose. Because wait a minute, because that's how I identify based on my feeling and belief about myself, right? So I think today that I'm going to identify as a rich white man.
I've
Okay,
been identifying.
because that's how I'm feeling
I've
today.
been identifying as that for years. So I appreciate your welcome to the club, K. Fred.
Thank you, my brother. It's good to be here. Good to be here.
Well, the thing about identifying, you can identify yourself as anything, and as long as you believe it, that's all it is. It's just you
And
believing it.
that's where the buck stops. You can't stop people's perception of you. That's going to be regardless. I mean, we can try, but people are going to, just because you look at yourself as something doesn't mean that I agree with you. And I've been on, and that could be on, offline, in public, anywhere. At the end of the day, you could say, wait, look, I identify as this, and I can look at you and like, nah, I don't see that. I see something else. And that's
Well,
where this whole discourse begins. It's like,
well,
okay,
well, my question is, what is reality though? Like
exactly.
you could identify as whatever you like, but the reality is, I see you as this person in a human form. You can identify as a goddamn tree if you want to, but you know I ain't no goddamn tree.
But so what you're talking about then is bringing it back to the social standard of what we define things as. So from a social standpoint, we define two sexes, male and female. That was originally it. And then in implementing that in the action, what a female or a lady was, even back in the day, and Ephraim, we had this talk, what was a gentleman? A gentleman was defined by certain actions that he displayed. And then a lady was defined by certain actions that she displayed in etiquette, right? Or things that represented what being a lady was about. And therefore, we define those two roles from a social standpoint, what a man should do and be, and then according to what a woman should do and be, based on the fact that she can birth and he can't, right? So it was always separated from a social standpoint, and that's how we defined ourselves. Now, somewhere along the line, we kind of got misconstrued, and everything for me at this point, it just became open. So, like you said, Gil, what's the reality, right? It's in people's heads according to what they quote unquote think. Now, from a social norm, I don't have to accept it. You see what I'm saying? Just because now it's being proposed and introduced as being a new norm. To who? Only the person with the reality, but damn it, people with mental illness have their own reality.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? A paranoid schizophrenic has his own reality. Now, we still deem that as mental illness, even though in their reality, certain things exist and there's certain things that they identify with. But if it goes against the social norm, that's how we define it then as something else within that social pattern.
So my question is, if you identify as a tree, do you have a mental illness?
Well, according to the social norm, they would tell your ass you're paranoid or something.
Something's wrong with you.
Something's
Because
wrong.
you're not
Yeah,
a tree.
Right. There's going to be a psychological diagnosis.
You're not a tree. You're clearly.
I identify as a redwood. I'm gonna hold my hands up in the air. I'm gonna sprinkle my hands, and the leaves coming down. So I can identify as what I like, but you don't have to accept my identification. How I feel. Yes.
Well, is it me accepting it, or is it the social norm accepting it according to the social pattern?
Apparently, you can identify whatever you want nowadays, and who gives a shit if they accept it or not? That's who I identify as.
Seeing into that next part, which is cool, because that's where I wanted to go. Self-identity. So I just kind of touched on self-identity a little bit, just Googled it. First one popped up. Self-identity is a concept in psychology and sociology. An individual's identity is the identity they form about themselves, affected by various factors such as self-esteem, one's social identity, and the roles which one plays in their society. So again, it starts with
the roles that they play.
The roles that they play in society and how we identify ourselves against those roles as being the measuring stick of what we can play. The utilities or the agencies that we're able to play in society is already predetermined according to our sex, meaning our anatomy. So, K. Fred, you touched on what's been popular, which is there began two sexes at one point in time. were defined by these words as far as in the English language, woman, man. There are many other languages that have many other words to describe these physical, biological factors. Woman typically means that you have breastises, you got a vagina, you got ovaries, you have the ability to lactate and carry a child and birth a child. Those physical anatomies are the ones that determine if you qualify to become or be called a woman. So if you qualify to become a woman or be named a woman, you have to have those factors. Those
Okay, Mr. Professor, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we have men that wants to be women and we have women that wants to be men, do they qualify under those definitions?
Hold on. Listen to what you just said.
You got it.
We have what?
I know what I said. I know exactly what I said.
Hold on. I just want to make sure I heard that correctly. We have what?
You got
so
it.
we have men.
Okay, stop right there.
Biological men. Okay.
So stop right there. Now, right there, you just classified something according to a social norm based on an identity that's said based on Ephraim's precipice about the genital part of you that makes you and defines you as a what man? The fact that I have a penis and a woman has a vagina. Okay, that's natural law. Okay. Now,
I understand
so at the end
that.
of the day, there's no way, and this is just me personally, if you can start right here and say a man that wants to be a woman, no, he's still a man. You can't be something that you're not, because it's natural law, biologically, you were born with the penis. So if you're born with the penis, your ass is a man. I don't give a damn how you feel about yourself.
So I guess that leads into these, why I said these names, these definitions, what we use them for are typically physical things. We're describing, assigning, labeling physical things, not because it's intrinsic. So we're not men because it's something in our DNA structure that spells out M-A-N or B-O-Y or M-A-L-E. There's nothing in there that's going to have that. It's done based off of utility. That means that we have these factors, penises, scrotums. We're able to shoot out these sperm to help give birth to a child. Physical factors based off of our agencies. But as far as us inside, there's nothing inside of us that say man, male, boy. Nothing. So that's cool. The name don't make you. The name doesn't make you what you are. What you physically have with your biological factors is what makes you what you are. That's what makes us a part of this man fraternity. We're able to have that name.
Exactly. And because of that, what we have that makes us what we are, the label that we define that for society's understanding is that you're a male, right? And if she got ovaries and if she can have children, she is a female. Bottom line. Now, I don't care what studs you got out there. She can put on whatever she want to put on, but she ain't busting nothing. You understand what I'm saying? It ain't happening.
When they created these words, we didn't have the ability to see cellular level. We didn't have that. We didn't have genetics. We have microscopic abilities to do that. So they based it off of the external biological factors, which is what is simply what we've been talking about, those basic things that make us similar in that. But we're not the same, of course, because as we dig deeper, when we get the technology that came about to allow us to go deeper, we looked in a little bit deeper and we weren't the exact same, but we still had some sort of similar cellular structure, even our DNA, XY chromosomes. We see that we have these similar chromosome levels in these entities, these things that have penises, scrotums, and able to produce sperm. And then same thing.
Mr. Professor, what about how I feel inside? Does that count?
Fuck your feelings.
Here we go with this shit. Look, man,
I don't care about your feelings.
What you got, Cutter?
I don't care You can feel anyway. Should I feel like going to sleep? But am I asleep? Like right now, am I asleep? Look, y'all, I'm asleep. Is that reality? Like, am I sitting in this chair with my eyes closed and in a sleep position? No, I'm talking to y'all. That's reality, right? But I identify as sleep. Did that change the reality? No, it
I'm just
didn't.
I'm just asking questions because this is what we face in our society today. That it's all about how people identify themselves in their own mind. It's not about reality. It's about the identification. So if I feel like I am a rich white man today, I can identify as a rich white man.
Okay.
That's how I feel. I'm just saying. I'm just
Until
asking
the
questions.
police pull your ass over. And then they gonna remind you still black.
I'm gonna tell them my name. My name is Thurston Howard the Third. That's who I am.
So we got this. We got this the foundation down. When does it start being what we know it to be as delusion? Can we look that word up, please?
Sure. So there it is, delusion. It's a noun again, referring to abstract thing. So something that is falsely or delusively believed or propagated. In psychology, you go to 1B, it says a persistent false psychotic belief regarding the self or persons or objects outside the self that is maintained despite indisputable evidence to the contrary.
So if we use that definition, we saying that men can be women and women can't be men. It doesn't matter how you feel. Is that what we're saying?
Whenever we say, are we men or are we women, we're asking the question of, are our physical factors the same as the physical factors as the other group? So meaning the men are the group, the rather that we name men, are they the same physically as the group members that are named women? Do they have the same physical factors that?
No, they don't. That's
Well, I
a
mean, kind
known
of they
fact.
do. We got lips, they got lips. We got eyes, they got eyes. They got ears, we got ears. They got 10 fingers, 10 toes. They got 10 fingers,
Yeah.
10 toes. So we the
Yeah,
same,
but
right?
it's not the same, of course, because when it comes to reproductive organs, we differ. Obviously, though we cover up our bodies so we can't see that. That's what separates us as far as sex is concerned.
Well, it's not even sexual, and that's not. This is the tip of the iceberg. Our frames are different. Our bone density are different.
True.
The way that we move is different, and it's all different, and it does not correlate.
If I left it up to two men to reproduce the world, we wouldn't have a world. If I left it up to two women to reproduce the world, we wouldn't have a world. There would be no offspring. So there is man and a woman for a reason. Why? Because that produces what? Offspring to populate. Now, the only reason that I would tell you that we want to do some old binary, LGB, whatever, and everything is all the same is if I'm looking to control a certain what? Population. So it would make sense that when you have a lack of resources in the world, right? And there's overpopulation because everybody's hitting like rabbits, that I need to bring in something that makes it and categorizes a norm to slow down the population.
I want to go into when that mindset comes into a reality so much as to the point to where you begin to alter your body, your physical being to fit what is that in your mind. Yeah, that part.
He said that part.
To line up what you identify as. Got you.
Like if I said I identify as a fox and I went to a surgeon and had him put a tail on my booty, clip my ears to make them pointy, which I'm sure would be super painful. You know, I mean, begin to really
embody the fox.
I want to look just like this fox. Make me look like that.
Well, that's what they got Halloween for.
Nah, I'm talking about like from this day on, I want to look like that fox because this is what I identify as.
And you gonna walk on all fours too?
Yeah, of course.
He said, of course.
So are you gonna procreate with a fox?
If I can.
Will it let you?
I don't think so.
Is it gonna be attracted to you?
Foxes, from what I understand, foxes are some mean ass animals. I think I'll get my eyes scratched out, but hey, that ain't gonna stop me from trying.
Your dick gonna be gone. We're kind of touching on these self-identities, these social roles, these standards that we use to govern how we perceive ourselves. For example, now the standard of beauty has changed again. This is always changing based off of society. And we got these standards of beauty where now people want to look a certain way because the identity that's been promoted is a certain depiction. And we know that depiction these days, big lips, big
BBLs,
butt, big breasts, you know, the
Yep.
typical video vixen has now become the standard of beauty by which everyone wants to become. So people are actually surgically altering themselves to meet this identity of beauty, this perception, this new definition. So is it not different than what the other groups are doing?
No, it's actually pretty much the same thing. It's just like you said, it's the idea of what is normal to them. This is the beauty standard right here. The Coke bottle shape. Now everybody wants to be shaped like what's the Jessica Rabbit, the cartoon. Everybody wants to look like that cartoon.
The point is not to change nature. The whole point is to redefine the definitions that have been established in the English language to match the reality that is being perceived by a certain group of people. They're trying to change the definitions because we can't change reality. That's what we've all confirmed. I can't change the actual physical state of things to what I think. I can only change the definitions that we use. We're trying to redefine what reality is, and then we want everyone to learn the new dialect by which we redefine this reality.
OG, that goes back to the word delusional.
Exactly.
I mean, we just looked at that definition. Next.
Well, and this is why this is dangerous, because it's still new, fairly. We haven't experienced 20 years of this. This is still new. So y'all know how I love to go into the long-term effects of things. Has it been 20 years since these? Let me back up, and I don't want to start naming names and get us flagged and shit. Since a group of people have decided, hey, we're going to change these definitions or alter this reality that we're living in, we don't know how this is going to affect human beings 20 years from now.
I don't think the ABCD crew don't give a damn how it affects. They're moving on their agenda, and that's all that matters to them is their agenda. It doesn't matter about how it affects anybody else or any other person. It's all about their ABCD agenda.
They're not the first word cult.
Not at all. It's been going on for years. Let's talk about we can start with religion. That's what it's like.
Of course, because you're naming it, claiming it. You're trying to use words to redefine the physical state of things. You're trying to redefine what we call reality by defining or using words to define it. This means if I can change the word, I should be able to change the reality, right? Or the objects that make up reality by what I say and think or feel towards the words that I'm using. It's always going to go back to that. Can we do that? Can our words or how we feel towards the definition?
We've tried that since the beginning, and euphemisms have been used for centuries, but the reality has never changed. It doesn't matter what you name something as or switch the definition. The reality remains the same. So I'm gonna play something. I'm glad we touched on that.
How would you define a woman? Because you've asked other people up here to define how we would define a woman. How would you define a woman? Mr. Walsh.
An adult human female.
And how doesn't a transgender woman fit that definition?
Because they're not female. They have. You said that you are a biological male, correct?
I said I'm transgender. I might be intersex for all we know. About almost as many people in the world are transgender as intersex, and a lot of people don't know.
Well, but that's a different conversation. Intersex, that's a genetic anomaly. That's a medical condition. So that's a completely different conversation. That's also not a third gender. That's a genetic anomaly that occurs within the sex binary of male and female. So what you're saying is that a quote unquote trans woman is a female.
By the definitions I'm familiar with, yes.
Let's pause that.
Because that's exactly what we just got through talking about.
Now, I'm gonna continue, but let's touch on that.
Yeah.
What definition are they using? Are they using their own definition, or we looking in the Webster dictionary to say what a female really is?
You got it. So this is what they're talking about. What they're referring to is not only remember we touched on what qualifies you to be named woman or man. We already know that based off of the traditional definitions in English language. Those factors are those physical things, those sex factors, which we already went over. They're not referring to that. They're referring to something else, internal, meaning that they say it's based off of what they feel inside.
And I'm gonna say like K. Craig said, "Fuck your feelings." That's what he said.
Fuck your feelings. Who raised you?
So they're saying that something inside of them, meaning trans men and trans women, trap men, trap women, they believe that there is something inside of them that is the same as what is inside the people or the humans that are named and defined men or women, depends on.
But see, you use a word that says believe. I can feel any kind of day anyway. I feel like I can fly. Does that make me believe I can fly? Do I got wings? Am I a bird?
I think you should go to the highest building in the city and state that you are and go ahead and test that theory.
That's why I went at the beginning. You're wondering why I established what self was. The entity within you that is defined as the self is abstract. Can you see it? No. Can you measure it? No. Can you sight, sound, taste, touch? No. So remember, we're not talking about what's physical. We're talking about something that's internal. So they're saying the internal thing inside of them is the same as the internal part of someone else. But we already established that what's internal is abstract. So what are you measuring it against? How can you measure if you're the same or different for something that is invisible?
That's why they don't base it in reality, because in reality, you're not a woman. You a dude with lipstick on and your hair twisted up like a woman. In reality, you're not.
But self could also be soul. Like, is the soul visible?
No, same thing. Invisible.
Not whatsoever.
Can you see, even when somebody dies, do you see the soul float out of, like they do in the cartoons, when the inner person self float? Does it float out of you when you pass away?
No. Unless this is the catch, because it's always going to go back to this. We know the physical is limited based off of what K. Fred established, what we call the laws of nature. These physical laws that we can't control according to what we feel and what we say and what we think. Don't work like that. Nature don't care what the hell we think and feel. It just do what it do based off of what it does. It functions. It happens. So they're not talking about that. They bypass that, just like any religious organization, by simply naming and defining what is internal. And then they use the name and definitions to measure what is true or what is not true according to those factors, because we bypass nature by using the words that we speak to define it or redefine it and control the definition rather than nature itself.
Hold on. So finish playing it. I want to see it.
All right.
So how would you define female?
Through my training in healthcare, there are several different categories for how we define sex. People bring up chromosomes. People also bring up hormone levels. People bring up all sorts of other categories. Lots of people don't fit neatly into a gender binary, even people we don't consider to be intersex. It's a complicated spectrum.
It's not complicated, but you also didn't define. So what is a woman? What is a female? What do these words mean?
It's complicated, and I know you're not going to like that answer, but that's because there are no simple answers in human biology.
Let me ask you a question.
You guys,
Can I ask you one last question?
just let me finish. You guys like to bring up high school level biology classes a lot. I get that a lot, but people who go on to more complicated biology classes will talk about sex as a spectrum.
It's not. It's not.
Well, biological researchers would disagree with you.
Well, then they're full of shit, the ones that would say that. Look, you said you're an EMT. Okay, if you're responding to a health emergency. Biological male, somebody with a penis, is having a medical emergency, and they say to you, "I think I'm having a miscarriage." Would you check them to see if they're having a miscarriage? Would you consider that a possibility for them?
Are you fucking serious? Are you serious?
I need to replay on that one.
Are you serious right now?
So you see what the problem is when you bring in reality, the physical meets what you believe. What you believe always loses every time.
Every fucking time.
So you can't. That was wrong of him to put her in the situation because he knew.
What was that wrong?
He knew.
How was that wrong?
Well, we talk about you're poking at people's belief. You know that's what.
Well. He was bringing him back to. He was bringing him back to reality.
Thank you. He was delusional.
Then all religion is delusional because
all of it. I agree. I totally agree.
How dare you refer to the LGBTQP LMNO?
It's a religion. They have religious belief. They have religious belief, just like you believe a dude walked on water and a dude took a rod and opened up the sea and walked on dry land. It's the same thing. It's nothing different. It's all the same.
How dare you? I will not allow you guys to sit on this panel.
No,
and refer to them as a religion. I will not do it.
It's based on a belief. He said he believed that he was a woman inside. He's basing on something that he believes.
That's because some people don't have body parts. Doesn't mean they're not a woman.
Okay. Sounds like we've established there are some people who, in principle, can get pregnant, and there are some people who can't. So there's two categories, otherwise known as binary.
Lots of women can't get pregnant either.
Yeah, but they're still of the nature to get pregnant. The only reason
they can't get pregnant.
Yes, but
truth matters, right?
For the same reason that I can rightly say that human beings have two legs, and if a person is born with only one leg, that doesn't call into question the statement that human beings have two legs. Okay, a person being born with one leg doesn't mean that now legs are on a spectrum, and we can't say anything at all about how many legs a person has. Who knows? They could be a centipede. You know, they could have 100 legs. No, we know human beings have two legs. If a human is born without two legs, something went wrong. They were supposed to have that second leg. Something went wrong. If you meet a person on the street who only has one leg, maybe they had an accident. Maybe they were in war. Maybe something, maybe they were in a car accident. Maybe they had cancer. A leg was cut off. But you know that something went wrong because by their nature, they're supposed to have two legs. Bingo. Same thing for a woman. A woman by her nature can get pregnant. A man by his nature never can. So if you meet a woman of childbearing age, say she's 28 years old, and she can't get pregnant, you know automatically that something has gone wrong. And she can go to the doctor and find out what that thing is, even if they can't fix it. So that proves that women by their nature can get pregnant because the simple fact that she can't shows you that there's something wrong. This is what is known as the exception that proves the rule. Whereas if a male with a penis can't get pregnant, no doctor on earth is going to run tests to see what's wrong with it because they already know it's that he's a male, and there's only male and female, those who can get pregnant and those who can't.
So here's what we've concluded. That one word that we went to, which is delusional. Because according to what he just defined, which is what we said earlier, it goes back to natural law, the way things naturally are intended to be for the concept of procreation, male and female. Anything outside of that is delusional.
I get it. In our minds, we have some weird things that go on up here. I'm pretty sure we can attest to that. Though we don't present them to the world, sometimes we have some wacky shit that goes on up here in this brain. Think about it. If everything that we thought we presented to the world and or said, look, this is who I am, accept this, accept it. And even though it's not reality, I'm pushing an agenda for you to accept this wacky shit that goes on up here. Though you may not agree with it, who cares? It may not be a safe practice, but who cares? This is how I feel, and you should accept it. If you don't accept it, you hate me. I don't like that shit. That's what I don't like.
So if I don't agree with you, that means that I'm something phobic or
you're against me.
I'm against me, or
and that's
you know,
what, to me,
I don't agree with your ideology. Yeah,
that's like a serial killer telling you that it's okay for them to take lives, and you should accept it because in their minds, their God told them to do that.
The proposed ideas are always searching for some sort of physical conduit to represent it inside of nature, and it always starts here, like you said, but then we have to find some sort of tangible form for it to manifest itself into, and then you have to convince people that the idea and the object that it is represented as in reality or nature is related to your idea. That's where the problem comes in. When you can't prove that, when you can't show the correlation, now it's starting to be a issue because you just won't take my word for it. I am that rock. I am that tree. I am that giraffe. I am that snail. I am that bird. I am this, whatever I say I am, according to the words that I'm saying to you, and it means to you in your mind, that's what I am. And you got to accept that as true because I'm painting it in your mind. So that means because you understand it, you think it is true. You got to accept it. And if you don't accept it, then you're you're against me, you're bashing, you hate me, you're a hate group because you don't accept my truth as your truth.
What happened to us agreeing to disagree and us having our own thoughts? Us having So that's going to tell me that the Texans is the greatest organization in football ever seen.
They are.
That's his opinion, and I would say no. That's the Cowboys are the greatest organization I've ever seen. Just because we disagree, it does not mean that I hate the Texans or I hate Cutter's opinion. That means we just disagree and we don't see eye to eye on that subject. So where have that gone? Like we have to agree with you because you think that you identify.
No.
Let me just say this real quick.
Because we know it's the Chiefs. What are you talking about?
let me say this real quick.
You see what just happened?
Yeah, but let me say this real quick, and I want to, make this clear. I do officially hate the Dallas Cowboys. That is a true statement. I can't stand them. I never did like the Cowboys. But yeah, but back to that, that's that reality. I can't stand Cowboys.
And it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with it.
When we were growing up, if you seen a transgender woman, and I might get some flack for saying this, but 9 times out of 10, when you seen them, you were like, "Yeah, that looks like a dude in lipstick in the wig." That anyway,
fat guy in a little coat.
But as technology progressed, they were able to alter these people into looking more and more like women, even though you can kind of still tell. I don't get some dudes who like, I didn't know. Word, bro.
The hands and the feet still look the same.
You see a
And the
6'1"
jawlines.
woman. You see a 6'1" woman, and you like, yeah. Even some women who play for the WNBA, you can still tell they're women, even though they're, But technology has advanced to the point to where now they're able to look more and more like what they desire to be.
Does that change what they are?
No.
Okay.
Doesn't change the reality.
We can't change the object that the word reality represents, but we can redefine the definition to meet what we think it should be, which is where, for example, we talking about LGBT community. That's what they're trying to do. They're not trying to change reality. They're changing the definition to include what they think reality should be. And now when you say these things that will represent what they believe should be included inside of reality, but is not.
So I want to bring up a video real quick.
I mean, if we're going to be honest, every major medical organization supports gender-affirming care for trans youth. They say it's safe and it's life-saving. And there are numerous studies that back that up.
The study that backs it up for puberty blockers is the Dutch protocol, and the same scientists—
I have 10 studies that I can bring to you right now.
The same scientists that brought that up have since rolled it back and said it was never supposed to be applied the way it has. The American medical industry, we all know, is money hungry and has gone off the rails.
I do agree that there are definitely some doctors out there that may be taking advantage of trans people, and I'm sorry that you went through this. Truly, I really am sorry. But trans kids are valid, and it's not a decision that they're making.
Right.
It's healthcare.
I want to speak to that real quick. Like, I came out 13 years ago when I was 14, and I knew not that I was trans, but that I was a boy. I had to go through a lengthy process of therapy and seeing an endocrinologist and like go through different tests and exams to make sure that this was real to everyone else involved. Transitioning and being trans was just a process I went through to become who I always knew I was. It wasn't a like decision that I made. It was a life or death thing for me. And if I hadn't gotten on hormones and gotten surgery at 16, I don't know if I would be here.
Trans people are different.
Yes.
They've found a distinct difference in the
white matter.
There is no biomarker for trans. Some brain scan of some gay males is identical to female brain, but there is no biomarker for trans. Please don't spread misinformation.
There is science that hints towards it. It's just not confirmed.
No, there's research.
So therefore, it falls under the belief that there is, but there is no scientific fact to back that up, which therefore I believe that God's initial intent was to create male and female.
If God intended to, if God exists and in the way that you believe and just intended to make male and female, then we wouldn't be sitting here. I believe
intersex people wouldn't exist.
In a higher power, right, of my own, and God is not this thing that creates rules and binary situations and laws that can be broken or really made. We're just all here.
Yeah.
Like I was born in a female body, but I was never a girl. Never, ever, ever. I can't explain why, but that is my truth. That is the fact. That is who I've always been. And there's no way that I'm gonna look up at this guy at some guide and be like, oh yeah, you made me as a mistake.
As to what happens when you take that reality and begin to alter your body. Like I said, we don't realize the long-term effects of the behaviors and the things that we do as humans. Especially in the modern day, because we have so much access to so many different things, so many different tools, that we thinking about the now, not the later. Like what's gonna happen once I do this, behave this way, cut myself, inject something in my body, take this type of medicine or hormones or whatever. Part two, go ahead, go to the YouTube channel, Concrete Reality TV on all platforms. Please like, subscribe, and support. Appreciate y'all.
As you can see, I was raised in the streets. I ain't got a